Weetabix. Name's in the top right up there, next to my unfathomably low league point score. So, essentially, with the new Championship Edition and the air quotes final patch for Street Fighter 5, I've seen a drastic increase in people coming in and saying, hey, this is my first fighting game, oh, I've just played for a few hours, I don't know what I'm doing, oh, I'm going online, I'm getting bodied constantly. So I figured it'd be a good time to just go through the basics, to go through like the you know, the bread and butter, the simple parts of Street Fighter. That's why we're going to the training room for a second. Yeah, Akuma's my main. That's why it was there. Let's just go. Let's just go. We're not going to talk about V skills, we're not going to talk about V triggers, we're not going to talk about the depth, the sheer layers of depth that all these years of this game being out have included. So we're gonna start with the very basics, the bread and butter. Not even the butter, just the bread. Just the bread, okay? Because if you play Blasblue, if you play Guilty Gear, you play something else, the tutorials are so in-depth, they're like, this is how you jump. Jump 3 times. This is how you do a light hop. Hop 3... No, Street Fighter doesn't do that for you. Street Fighter obviously gives you trials to try out with target combos and how to change supers into, like, critical arts or whatever. So we're just going to go through the basics. I don't think I should have to explain this, but I'm going to anyway. The very top left and the top right are the health bars of each person. The timer is in the top middle. The bar underneath your health bar, which you'll see when you go up when you strike someone, is their dizzy gauge, or like their stun gauge. When that fills, they get stunned. The very bottom meter on the bottom right, left and bottom right is your critical arts and EX gauge. Let's say you're throwing a Hadoken and you want to throw an EX Hadoken, you're going to eat 1 bar. If you've got a full meter, you can do whatever the critical art is for that person, which for Ryu is a Shinken Hadoken. And then the little meter above it, which varies in size depending on which character you're playing as, is your V trigger gauge. Or I guess V gauge, because at this point they do skills, reversals, triggers, and shifts. They didn't used to do shifts, this is all new to me, so that's why I was like, we're not going to talk about the V gauge in this lesson. Right, so let's get started. There is a button to reset where you are, which I completely cannot remember because it's been quite a while. There we go. I'll just do that then. There we go, that's a lot easier than I thought. So, why do people use the training room? Right, you will see that there is this grid pattern worked out everywhere. So I'm already here, I'm already off center. I can go back and already know the spacing of mid-screen for like footsies or like distance calculation. As you can see, he's not moving forward at all off a jab. It's not moving forward at all off of a light. But then if you go ahead and you put in stuff like a roundhouse, look at that, you start, you know, gathering distance, you start gaining distance on people. So, unless for some reason you've already changed the buttons, unfortunately I'm not here for you. The top 3, which on PlayStation would be square, triangle and R1. I guess that's what fucking X, Y, and you know what, I'm not going to sit here and figure out what they are. So, your square, or your 1, your first button is going to be your jab. You got strong, which is triangle, so your second punch, or medium punch. And then you have fierce, which is your hard punch. Same goes for the bottom, but with kicks. You've got your light, you've got your medium, and you've got your hard. Like I said, roundhouse, as it's known, hard kick is gonna gather distance. That happens. Now that's pretty uniform across the board. That is pretty uniform across all characters. It's going to be 3 types of punch, 3 types of kicks. There are characters that cause like changes to this. Jury's a pretty good example. Jury has more than 3 kicks. To be honest, I haven't played Jury that much in 5, mostly in 4. I think she had like 1 punch and 5 kicks in that. But it's a really shining example to just know that your light punch and your light kick are usually going to be a light punch and a light kick, and more than anything, your roundhouse or strong, like your heavy kick, is usually going to do something. Like, a lot of characters might have one with a strange pose that causes a lot of distance. You know, there's a lot of different aspects to that. So that's like your ground game. That's the kind of stuff you can pull from a standing position, nothing going on. Now, towards or forwards is obviously always towards the opponent. Yes, if you're the first player, that's usually going to be right. But sometimes you have to think about it as towards or forwards. Because if someone says to you it's, you know, quarter circle towards punch, if you want to do a Hadoken or a fireball, then obviously if I'm now over here, you're not going to say quarter circle to the right, are you? Because that's not going to do anything. He's not going to do anything. So now it's to the left, because it's always towards your opponent. And that goes for the move list. If I bring up the move list, command list as such, you got Hadoken there, right? It's to the right. But if I go over here and choose it, it's still to the right. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to do anything if I'm on the right. I'm not. So it's towards. So obviously that's a shining example of somewhere to go with that. But we're still not even going to talk about inputs. You really have to start at the beginning when it comes to these games. So like I said, you got your 3 punches, you got your 3 kicks. That's the bread. Still no butter. Still no butter on this bread. Okay, you've got away, you've got towards. Now bearing in mind, if you double tap that, you perform a dash. Now, for particular characters... Actually, no, there's no run command in Street Fighter. Jesus, yeah, okay, so you can't hold a run and you can't hold an evade. You can wave dash, like you can do a bunch repeatedly, which is obviously easier for me. I'm playing on an arcade stick. I'm sure some people out there, I mean, you can't really mash your left thumb that fast on a D-pad or with an analog stick, but you can fucking well try. I mean, there are plenty of people in the pro scene that play with pads. That's fine. That's on them. Nothing against them. I think it's admirable, if anything. So, away is blocking, and towards is not blocking. Standing raw is not blocking, and you cannot block in the air. As much as you'd love to, this isn't an anime fighter, so you can't block in the air. So going towards, you're going to leave yourself open. Moving away, you're technically already blocking, even if the character model isn't blocking. It's really important. Now, for a lot of people that want to turtle, which is just like constantly down backing, you know, you've got down and down back. Like, you can hear me move the stick, but you see no change. Down towards doesn't cause you a crawl, down back doesn't cause you a back away, and down, it all looks the same. But it's integral to know that down back is a crouching block, and down towards you're open as fuck. You're gonna get destroyed if you're accidentally leaning your stick a little bit towards the character, or you're accidentally somehow pressing the right on the D-pad. It's not gonna help you at all. So, I like to think of that as like the A, B's, and C's, right? Your attacks, your blocks, and then countering. Now, countering is something that's going to be difficult, you know, it depends on what someone does. Let's say someone goes for that roundhouse. Now, as you can see, from this distance, that's a connect. From here, that's a whiff, right? That's one, you see like the 1 pixel that's represented at the bottom there, that's 1 pixel different. So here, connects. Back here, doesn't connect. Alright, it's really important to think about distance, judging distance, seeing what you can do to make sure that you're not leaving yourself open and getting like mad whiffs, because you're just going to get whiff punished, and that's not what you want. So obviously there's a part of you in your head that's like, well, then I want to be as close as possible, but that's also not good, because what haven't we covered? Okay, light punch and light kick together is grab, which is a terrible animation for Ryu, honestly, because it doesn't really look that obvious, but the fact of the matter is it's a grab. Now from here, that's no grab. Here, no grab. Look at that. The hand goes clean through Ken's shoulder. But the difference is, if you're all up in someone's shit and they're blocking, you're going to get grabbed. It's going to happen. You're going to get grabbed. Especially if they're block chaining. If you're trying to do damage to someone and they're block chaining, and then the moment you've got stuck in between 2 hits, they know that you're going to have a second, like a second of reprieve in your startup frames before your next attack, they're going to grab you. And just for good measure, it's important to know that the direction that you're moving the stick whilst grabbing affects where you throw your opponent. Away and grab is going to throw it the opposite way. Towards grab, or just raw grab, is always going to do that. So that's towards, this is raw, same grab. Doesn't make a difference. Alright, so back to the startup. So you've got your usual stuff. You've got jumping, you've got crouching, you've got blocking, you've got forward dash, back dash, if I could pull one off. You got grabs, and then you've got your light, medium, hard punch, light, medium, and hard kick. We're still not at inputs yet. So we're still not talking about throwing your Hadokens, getting your Shoryukens off, or pulling off Tatsumaki Senpukyakus. Now, certain characters, Guile is a really good example. Guile has Flash Kick and Sonic Boom, which are input based, but he also has a few input moves. That's why I call them, some people call them simple inputs. So I'm pretty sure it's towards medium punch. Yeah, it's collarbone breaker. So instead of just pressing medium, if you do towards a medium, you get collarbone breaker. Now, the difference between collarbone breaker is not only is it a 2-hitter and hits the opponent twice, but on a considerable amount of characters, there may be outliers, I'm not sure, I'm not some super expert with every single character model, but this usually counts as an overhead in certain blocking positions and can cause a cross-up. So, bear that in mind, because if you're too busy walking forward and you actually want to do a medium punch but you're still holding forward, you're going to do that. And what is that? That's leaving you open as fuck. You're just asking for someone to roundhouse you in the head. Now, as you saw there, different input for the roundhouse. Standing roundhouse raw, but then away with roundhouse is the I mean the correct term for that's an axe kick. I don't know what the input term is for Ryu himself. Unique attacks. They like to call them unique attacks. Oh, it's actually called axe kick. Well, there you go. Right. Okay. And then last of all, you've got solar plexus strike, which is well, it literally describes what it is. It's a punch to the sternum or solar plexus. So by pressing hard with towards, you're going to get a 2-hit off that. Now, you'll also find that within regards to chaining, see that's a medium into a hard, very easy to pull off. You see that? You hear how many times I hit hard after doing the collarbone breaker? Yeah, you can't combo off big inputs like that. Like, it's not going to happen. Nothing's going to happen because there's too much animation. There's too much animation that has to happen. So in the realms of combo making, you can't be thinking about constantly walking at your opponent and just trying to press heavy buttons thinking everything's going to go okay. Because you're just going to... Not only is it going to leave you open if you get blocked on, but more importantly, you're... It's like high risk, no reward. You're thinking, oh, heaviest buttons? Heavy buttons? I'm obviously going to win the game with heavy... No, you're not. You're probably going to whiff a lot, and you're going to get opened up. Also, more importantly, if you accidentally press both heavies, you're going to V-trigger. And if you do that at the wrong time, well then, you've kind of fucked yourself over a little bit, haven't you? Now, in the case of Ryu, his V-trigger is... it adds a status effect to his punches. It also affects his shories. Base shories cause like stun effect. I really wish they had like a giant list that let you choose all the different V skills and told you what they specifically do, because there's plenty of characters V skills and V triggers that I have no idea what they actually are. Okay, so we've been through just about everything, apart from I'm pretty sure... Yeah, Jodan Nirangeki. Jodan Sanrangeki? Huh. Okay, yeah. This is like a basic target combo. Fair enough. Right, now we already entered into what is essentially simple inputs. Simple inputs for someone like Ryu, right? So you got, you know, collarbone breaker, axe kick, solar plexus strike. Those are unique to Ryu. Not everybody's going to have those. But what they are going to have is kind of like the universal constants. Now, a lot of the characters do have variations on this. I say a lot, actually. A few of the characters, I mean. Correction, a few have variants on this. But it's really important to note that roundhouse or heavy kick, crouching, 9 times out of 10 is a sweep of some description, which is going to cause knockdown, because it's a sweep. So... Oh, and standing block does not stop you from getting a sweep off. It's also really important. It is a block breaker. Crouching block, obviously different situation. But another universal constant for quite a few people is that crouching heavy crouching fierce, like heavy punch, is like an automatic uppercut. So it's good for anti-air. If someone's coming in on you like this, you know, and you've already got one of those ready to go, you can pull it off. Now, sure, for a lot of characters, you're going to rely on their Shoryuken. In the case of Ryu, it's the default across the game for what a Shoryuken input is, or an uppercut, dragon punch, whatever you fancy calling it, which is towards your opponent, down, and then down towards. So you're making like a Z-shaped motion with the thing really quickly. If you pull it off quickly, you should barely be able to see your character move like that. You know, it's like a millimeter shuffle and a little duck. But if you press the punch at the end of it, you're going to pull off a Shoryuken. Now the difference is being light, medium, and heavy. You can see like the graphical difference. Like light is tiny, medium you get more distance, heavy you get like the wind on the fist. But another thing that you'll notice is there is the opportunity to pull things off when it comes to doing a light, where there isn't when it comes to doing a heavy. For instance, the time it takes you to get back down off the ground usually means that you're going to land when they've landed. So you cannot come out of a Shoryu, unless of course you're using a V skill or V trigger that augments the speed at which you fight or your ability to chain combos. You're not really going to be able to do much off of a heavy Shoryu. And you can also do the same with Hadokens, which is down, towards, like down, towards, then towards. So it's a quarter circle motion. Now for a visual example of what these things are. Oh, I was on the special move. You can see it's a little diagram of the stick moving in a quarter of a circle towards the person, and like I said, with Shoryuken it's a Z shape. So what you're really looking to do is to just move like a little quarter circle, down then towards, and throw a punch out at the end. So standard procedure Hadouken. Now when it comes to these moves, if you're like fresh, like if you're really new to fighting games, even putting in complex input moves, they're called like complex inputs. Obviously I don't think a quarter circle is complex, but in comparison to a simple input like the ones we demonstrated earlier, collarbone breaker, solar plexus strike, and axe kick, you know, that's just one direction. It's a directional input. Whereas throwing in like a, you know, a quarter circle or a Z-shaped motion, it's a lot harder than you'd think if you're like fresh. I'm sure there's plenty of people that have somehow stumbled across this video that are going to be like, it's not complex. I've been playing. Yeah, great. I've been playing fighting games for like 20-something years at this point. I still mess up inputs sometimes. Everybody messes up inputs sometimes. So if you're fresh, it's a really good idea to try and pull off like 10 Hadokens without making a mistake, like repeatedly, just to show that you can. Now, if someone at home's thinking, holy hell, that was a lot of Hadokens. Well then, and this is where light, medium, and heavy come into it, because they augment the attributes of whatever special you're using. If you're doing Hadokens, light ones are going to come out awfully quick. But as you can see, it's over here. So when I was closer, I was throwing them pretty quick, wasn't I? That's because, as you can see, if you pull it off early, oops, or if you accidentally double quarter circle, if you pull it off too early, nothing's going to happen. See? You can hear the input, nothing happens, and then because the fireball hadn't hit him yet, I ended up doing a jab. That's because you were restricted to one projectile on screen at a time. For Ryu, that is. Other characters have a variety of projectiles. They might be able to pull in two at a time, they might be able to do whatever. But for our bread and butter boy Ryu here, you're only able to throw one at a time. So if you're doing a light, which, bear in mind, is a moderately fast projectile, but not as fast as a heavy or a medium. So a light Hadouken is slower, a light Hadouken does less damage, and it also, here's something that people don't think about, has less projectile health. So a heavy and a medium and a heavy travel at different speeds, heavy being the quickest of them all. But then if you press medium, light, medium, heavy, light, heavy, doesn't really matter. If you press two buttons, you're going to do an EX. Now, for a lot of people, they immediately go straight to using their L1, their all three punches button. Oops, messed up. to just go straight for an EX. And the thing is, with certain characters, it might actually augment which move they're doing. For some characters, a light and a medium will actually make you do a different EX than a medium and a heavy. So it's important to find out the differences in your personal character. Obviously I'm using Ryu as a set example here because, again, he's like bread and butter boy. But pulling off an EX Hado is going to have more health points than a light or a medium, and it's going to give you the opportunity. See, I'm already here so used to games where you can throw them repeatedly. If your opponent's using projectiles, if your opponent's doing some kind of super armor move where they can flinch through some of the damage, it's going to make a difference if you're fighting a Zangief or something like that, where they're using a move in order to tank some of the hits. If you're throwing an EX, the chances are that because it does more damage, it's going to go through. Now you can hear the double hit on the EX. You can hear like the psh psh in comparison to that. So you can hear the 2 hits of the EX. Now, without having Ken throwing fireballs at me, I can't sit here all day and try and tell you what the projectile differences of every single projectile every projectile character has. But for Ryu, the main difference is speed and health. And then with the EX, you get an ink blot flourish. You get a little bit of the Street Fighter 4 art style. Now, this, as I showed you, the attributes carry over on a Shoryuken. I didn't show you an EX Shoryu. EX Shoryu gives you a little bit more panache. He gets 2 hits in, he gets like a flashing state. But in comparison to the hard Shoryu, it's a lot more devastating. Now, Shoryus are probably going to be the input that people are going to struggle with. Managing to do a Shoryu, as opposed to accidentally doing a double quarter circle and pulling off one of those when you have your critical art meter full, could be a problem for a lot of people. So like I said, it's really important to take yourself into training with whatever character you have, and definitely pull up, as long-winded as it might be, 10 without actually messing up. Because if you can't do that, the chances are you're gonna fluff up your inputs in the middle of a fight. You're gonna be panicking too much. Panicking is your enemy. Panicking is the one thing you don't want to be doing, because if the pressure's on you in the middle of a fight and you're too busy, just mashing buttons and not really thinking about what you're going to do, you're going to leave yourself open. The other person might even just read the fact that you're panicking, back off a little bit, and then do one move or one combo, and you're done for. Now, the important thing about these specials that Ryu has, the Hadoken and the Shoryuken. The Shoryuken has a minor amount of distance gain. The Hadoken has none. Hadoken's a keep away tactic. Or also a combo chainer, it depends on how you're using it. Now, the Tatsumaki, or Whirlwind Kick, I think some people call it, but yeah, Tatsumaki Senpukyaku, light is really light. Like, we're talking drastically different in comparison to a medium, where you get like that nice little bit of air at the end, or the heavy, which, as you can see, he gets a lot of distance off that. All the way across the screen. Not always guaranteed to connect, obviously, if they're blocking, but that's a full screen. So what you need to do is like think about what you're doing in a combo, or if you want to use it to move like distance towards your opponent, whilst like not leaving yourself open. Now, in certain situations, you can use the Tatsumaki to go through a projectile. Like whilst they're throwing something, you can use that to evade through the projectile. But also, if you just want to move in on an opponent, you got to think about how, if I'm like mashing medium, let's try and get the distance right. If I'm mashing medium, there's a good half a second before you're able to come out of that Tatsu doing a medium. However, if you're doing like a light, you can come out of it pretty fast. Or in the case of some, ooh, I don't know if I can land that. Probably not. I'd have to go back to playing Ryu for the first time in like 5-6 years to know what you can chain. But yeah, speed in between moves is really important if you're trying to come up with combos, if you're trying to keep combo pressure on people. You can't spend all day fucking throwing your hard Tatsu and then being like, oh, they're on the floor, and then every time they're on the floor, if they're wake up shorying you, or if they're fucking raw grabbing you off of a wake up, which is really disrespectful, but it does happen quite a lot, to the point at which some people like to call this game Grab Fighter 5. You're really leaving yourself open. Sometimes light moves are important. Now, for a character like Ryu, that's everything apart from your heated fireball, which is a half circle away input. Wait, hold on. Half circle, no? Oh, look at me, I don't even know what Ryu does anymore. Huh. I could have sworn Ryu had a fireball input, but that's just me showing my age. And I play too many different fighting games. Excuse me? Jodan Sakotu Geri? How many... Okay, well, okay, it turns out there's a different input that I didn't know about. Half circle towards kick. I mean, that's a bit of a dog shit move if you ask me. Oh, it's the one that gets the wall bounce. Right, yeah, it's coming back to me now. I really don't play with it. Yeah, the wall bounce one. Right. That's another thing to think about. Just the same way that a roundhouse can cause an opponent to go on the ground or OTG, wall bouncing moves can lead to certain opportunities if you're using specific combos or if you have stuff figured out. It really depends on the character. In some cases, it's nothing but a flourish that ends a combo and puts the person on the floor. For other characters, it gives you the opportunity to get them airborne, put them in juggles, do whatever's going to happen. So, with your own specific character, you know most of the different things. You have like whatever special moves you're able to do, whatever input moves they have, like your collarbone breaker, etc. Those ones I went through. You've got your raw grabs, like your just basic grabs. You've got your ability to use, well, in Ryu's case, his V skill is a parrying ability. In other characters, it might be like a projectile, it might be a dash, it might be whatever they have. And then lastly, we have the trigger abilities. Unfortunately, because I'm in a fight, not in a fight, I'm unable to use V-shifting or anything like that, so I can't demonstrate it. But like I said, I wanted to keep away from the V skills for this like beginning stuff, because really, by that point, it's completely different for every single character, whereas the ability to do specials and the ability to do inputs and the ability to do grabs is something that everybody could do. There's no character that doesn't have grabs, right? But there are grapple characters that focus more on grabs and input grabs. So, it's important to look at the basics. If some character, I mean, it's the rule of cool. If a character has taken your fancy and you want to check them out, then learn their full repertoire. Don't go out there like, oh, I never use this move, oh, I never use that move, oh, I like this move. They're like, nah. You got to use everything. Because someone's going to come out with you some kind of tech that, just throwing Hadokens at a person isn't going to save you. Like, they're going to use some kind of evade, they're going to be like Dalsim and use an air teleport, they're going to be Zangief and use the lariat to get through them. They could be another Shoto and use Tatsus to get through it, Or if you're just going to sit there and fucking try and Shoryuken across the entire screen like that, and not expect to get fucking anti-aired, or like the moment the person comes down, if you're like this distance, you're going to get grabs like that. Like the person who's waiting for you to come back down is going to grab you, or they're going to combo you, they're going to do something. So, you've got moves, you've got blocks, and you've got grabs. Attacks, blocks, and grabs are essentially, and this shouts out, like, this is all Gutax, this is all the PogChamp man himself. First person I ever heard say this, but it was so basic, I was like, oh, that's a really good point. It's the rock, paper, scissors of Street Fighter. If someone's trying to grab you, and whilst they're coming over and they're going to grab you, you just kick them, they're not going to be able to grab you. Okay? So your grabs are your paper, right? Rock is block. Really easy to remember. Rock is block. If someone's blocking, you're not going to be able to attack them, but you're going to be able to grab them every time. So, scissors doesn't beat rock. Paper beats rock. So, if rock is block, paper's grab, and attack is scissors. It's really simplistic, but it does kind of boil down the entire meta of Street Fighter. If someone's a grab character, right, and they're slow, like they're a slow grab character, they're not able to get across the screen quickly, they don't have any distance gainer, especially since Zangief doesn't have green hand anymore, and they want to get at you, and you're just constantly throwing fireballs. you're taking away their ability to grab you, because you're not sitting there turtling, waiting to get grabbed. And the same goes for, like, if someone's just constantly attacking, and you just block the whole time, you're going to stop all their attacks from hitting you. Now, yeah, you've got other things to take into account there if we get further into it, like mix-ups and 50-50s and cross-ups and so on. But the main thing is, if a person's just doing something basic, like you get into a game and they're literally just doing like crouching medium kick like this repeatedly, and you're allowing them to use that poke to get you, and you never think, oh man, he keeps doing medium, maybe I should medium, like maybe I should jump in, maybe I should do a jumping fucking heavy punch or something. Oh man, that's just reminded me, we didn't even get into that. So jumping attacks vary wildly depending on the person. You know, if you look at, I feel like I've always felt like medium punch was as if you were supposed to like wait until you're down here and then punch them in the nuts, but you can kind of see the direction that they're aiming for. You don't want to be like backflipping over here and pressing medium punch if no one's coming up towards you in the air. The same way you don't want to be jumping in on someone and pressing like fucking light all the way up here when they're nowhere near you. There you go. Now you're stuck in the air and you can't pull it off again. You can't pull off, well, maybe there is a character that can do too, but you can't exactly just go around pulling off multiple punches in the air. It's not going to happen. So yeah, being prepared to do something like that, or even just raw jumps into stuff like that. I'm pretty sure with Ryu you can do stuff like, yeah, you can jumping heavy into a crouching medium, so that like right after the hit stun has worn off on the opponent, you're already at the end of the medium, already at the end of the hard, and you're right into the medium kick. And then you could probably chain that into, oops, I meant to do a shoryu, but you know, these things happen. But that is essentially all the basics. You got the same for like your jumps. Again, like light jumps have like very, very specific timings for when they get used. So if you want to come in with a heavy kick in the air, you don't want to do it all the way up there, you're just going to leave yourself completely open. So you want to time it, so you've got like a good timing on it. And for a considerable amount of characters, I find often the jumping medium kick is a bit of a cross-up. See, if someone's like crouch blocking, you can quite often get the kick to go to the back of their head if you're doing a jumping medium. In the case of certain situations, you know, you can use that to kind of distance judge and also like gauge where you are. If you're about this distance, you're probably going to land right on them, you know. I'm trying to get the hit off just before so you can see what I'm talking about as the character goes through, whereas if you go, you're always going to connect. I mean, yeah, you can reverse jump to do aerial moves. It's not like you have to be going in. You can always do them in a defensive manner, because again, you can't air block. So it's really important to think about that if you're going to throw something out. If you're going to throw that out, miss, and then just get blasted when you come down by a Hadouken, it's not going to end well for you. Or any form of projectile. It's using Hadouken as a, you know, an example. When you got all these basics down, like the real beginner stuff, your character's light, medium, and hard, your character's input moves, whatever they might be, your character's specials, and what they're going to be, and apparently this one that I like completely didn't know about. Let's ignore that. And then, you know, you want to move into your V-trigger and your critical arts and these types of things, then yeah, sure. But you really want to have like the basics down. Because if you're the type of person that's going to go into a fight and is just going to constantly tatsu and expect someone to come up with a way out of that, or you're going to constantly shoryuken and expect someone not to figure out a way to cancel that, you're setting yourself up to get battered. Like, you're definitely setting yourself up to get destroyed. So, you could go online into player matches and then feel like you're the worst player in the world because you'll very quickly realise that a considerable amount of people in player matches are actually really fucking sick at the game, and they prefer to play player matches over ranked because they don't want the stress of like their league points and stuff being shifted. That may have changed recently. I highly fucking doubt it. I haven't seen a change in that for Street Fighter specifically in like 10 years at this point, but usually the people chilling out in player could be like all sorts of range of awesome at the game, and you're not going to be prepared. Now, a lot of this stuff has been added over the years and wasn't there originally. Ironically, arcade wasn't in the game originally. Arcade, obviously, you don't want to sit there and go through very basic fights against characters, unless of course you're trying to get character points or something. Like, you have a reason for doing it, like you're doing it for trophies or achievements, whatever you want to call it. But I would say survival's a pretty good place to go. Obviously it's been reset like a bunch of times, so it says here that I haven't done it over here. Now, I've got... Why do I have a Chun-Li score? What the hell? Someone else must have played that. I haven't played Chun-Li. Anyway. Let's put it on normal. Let's put it on normal and pick Ryu. And let's pick something stupid. Oh my god, B-boy. There you go. No, mine was weak. There's got to be a green in here somewhere. Ugh. Oh, that's a terrible thing. Okay. And don't forget that you have opportunities in between the stages to use buffs. Attack up, health up, what have you. Oh my god, it's terrible. It's terrible, I love it. Okay, so we got Balrog first. Right. Now, you'll notice, in medium, he's not really coming at you. He's making it look like he's coming at you. But he's not really, like, throwing stuff at you big time, is he? Look at him. And this is Balrog. This is a character that has to charge. They have to hold down back and release in order to, like, pull off a move. And here he is, like, jumping on the spot, doing whatever. So, playing on medium really isn't that hard, but it's important to, like, use it as a tool to do distance judging, things like that. Like, this guy's just jumping around, doing whatever. We're going to jump over, and what we're going to do is we're going to wait for him to jump. Is he going to? Oh, there I am doing bad inputs. I'm going to wait for him to jump. I picked a bad character for jumps, I mean, let's be real. That was the cross-up I was talking about. See, I was all the way behind him, they're still connected. Come on, do a jump. Balrog, do a jump. Okay. We got that crouch off. So if you're particularly slow and you don't want to be able to pull off like a Shori, you can just rely on that down fierce. I didn't realise like medium goes on like really light on you. I thought medium was a little bit more like they at least came at you. Terrible example. Oh, it's Karen. Okay. Unfortunately, Karen's quite a ground game oriented character. I say that, and then she immediately jumps. So I was saying, like, for instance, you could use this opportunity to test your ability to repeatedly Shori you. See what I mean? Oh, nice. I actually dodged it. So, sure, it's not the same amount of pressure as playing a real person. Nowhere near the same. But it gives you the opportunity to try out your different moves whilst, you know, I wouldn't say pressure, but you have a moving target. Sitting in the lab all day is great if you're trying to figure out like 6 move combos, because you're so good at connecting your stuff. You genuinely do need to just get the timing down. But you're not then just going to like breeze your way into online and pull off like 1,000,000 combos every single time, because the pressure's there, the pressure that isn't there normally. So let's say I don't want Cody to be able to get near me. That's what I'm aiming to do. Nice. Nice overhead. Like, I really don't want Cody to be able to get near me. And that's what I'm aiming for. That's why I've like set myself. So you can sit here all day throwing different Hadokens. It's fucking easy as. Look at him. He's not even thinking about it. But it gives you the opportunity to go like, right, I want to do 10 Hadokens without fucking up. Back to back. I want to time them right depending on if they're jumping, if they're blocking, if they're doing whatever. And I want to be able to confidently cast my fireballs. Fantastic. It's medium, so I doubt Zangief is going to dodge any of the fireballs. Actually, he might. It'd be worth a try. Let's see. Let's throw slow ones at him and see if he dodges them. Okay, I was really expecting him to lariat by now. Zangief, you let the side go. Yeah, I guess maybe medium's a little too easy to be able to demonstrate different stuff. But the whole point is that you're able to like come into this as like a basic lab, you know, like you're not sitting here trying to figure out the fucking cure for cancer with Ryu's fist, but you're in here doing your best to like learn the character. Let's say you're uncomfortable with your Shoryus. You're gonna wait for him to come in, you're gonna Shoryu. You're gonna wait for him to come in, you're gonna try and Shoryu it. So, Rashid is a very aerial character. He likes to move around a lot. Oops. Every time he's walking forward, there's another one. Every time he jumps into it, there's another one. Jesus Christ, make your mind up. It gives you the opportunity to wait for the opponent to come in. And not react to like the movement itself. Like don't go, oh they're walking forward, I can definitely pop one off. But it helps you judge distance. It helps you look at like how far the opponent is from you and go, okay, I'm gonna show you. Okay. They're further away but they keep walking forward every now and then, I'm gonna Tatsu. Okay, they keep turtling. I can't constantly throw fireballs, I'm gonna have to move in myself. Because you're not able to just fireball every single person in the game. You can't just sit there throwing fireballs all day and think that they're not going to find a way around it. Sure, if you're like... Oh wow, didn't expect Luke. If you're expecting like absolute beginners, then yeah, maybe just doing this all day will work. But as you can see, he even went for a jab then that almost connected. So you could do this if you want to be a pain. I mean, it's more than anything, it's annoying on the ears. I would never raw suit, but that's just disrespectful. But you'd be surprised how many people who don't play Shotos, don't play, you know, Ryu, Ken, Akuma, Dan, I guess Sakura is also a Shoto, they don't play that character and they're so sick of everybody throwing fireballs at them that they will go and they will spend ages coming up with ways around those fireballs. There are certain moves that certain characters have in the air where it shifts their body position upwards, and those moves exist to not only land like an overhead hit, but also stop that person from getting hit by fireballs. As you can see, Zaku immediately went into like a little jumping thing, because the computer's like, oh okay, this guy's like on it, this guy's like on the fireball train. See now, look at the distance that Zeku gets off that jump. Yeah, Zeku, I'm trying to demonstrate something to the viewer here, if you don't mind. So let's throw a medium. I was expecting him to jump after. There you go. If you're not gonna play to the distance, you're not even playing the game. Like, distance is fundamental to being able to read your opponent, and also what you should be reacting to that opponent with, what your counters are. Like I said, attacks, blocking, and counters. That's like ABCs. That's like that's the beginning of all fights. That's like a core concept of it. Sure, like I said, you've got attacks, blocks, and grabs. There are people that use grabs every third move. There are people that you will never see grab in a fight ever. They just don't do it. It really depends on the opponent. Now, as long as you've got distance between you and them. Now, I mean, Poison is a shining example of distance. She does not want to let me get too close to her, so she's going to use the whip. At the same time, I can, like, try and gather distance and try and like, close that gap by using Tatsus. But I could also try and run away and just hope that I'm able to Hadouken out of there. But at the same time, you could always just raw jump in and look, and then miss a grab. It's fine. I was hoping I'd be able to just land and grab, but unfortunately I was like a little space off. So why are these things important? Why is it important to think about distance? Because that's where the character differences come in. You can gain distance, like you can create distance throwing fireballs and pushing your opponent back. You can lose distance by turtling too much and having your opponent come towards you. If you're a zoning character, if like keep away or zoning is the way that you play, and you're trying to push your opponent, perfect example, Gil, the zone master himself. Gil's able to do a variety of weird attacks that come on strange angles and use weird movement and stuff in order to force you to put yourself into situations you don't really want to be in. Like he can make the fireballs come down and the icicles come down. He can also like do a 45-degree angle upwards knee drop, which is just rough as. Oh, they're just getting serious now. Right, so let's see what we can get him to do. Alright. I sit here and say, like, Gil's really good at zoning, and then he does only one projectile and it's straightforward, but you get where I'm coming from. Depending on your opponent, they will use... Oh, fuck it, I really don't mind. They will use a variety of angles of moves, and timings of moves, and strange ones, like in the case of Ibuki. She has bombs she throws out that don't detonate for a few seconds, so instead of you going, oh god, this is a fireball, and jumping, you're actually going to think, well, maybe I don't want to be near that bomb, maybe I don't want to be on the left side of the screen, because that bomb's going to detonate, and if I'm in the middle of a combo, it's going to interrupt me. Go on, come over. Come over. Nah, show us your projectiles. Look at that, wow. Oh, 6 jumps. I was hoping to see at least one, whatever. I guess there was something, but I want to demonstrate projectile health because it's so much to ask. Apparently it is. So, what can I say? None of the AI are playing into their strengths at all. They're not making it like difficult or making it so I have to like demonstrate any tactics, but I guess that'll be next time. We're still talking about basics. Oh, let's go Maki. Mika, not Maki. Fucking hell. It's because I always think of our Maki like a rainbow roll, but that's just me. See, Mika's a very interesting character. She can gain distance very quickly. She's a mobile character. She moves a lot, but she's still a grappler. No projectiles. A nice, what do you call it? A nice drop kick. She's got rolling punches. She's got the peach. She can throw the peach at you. She wants to get you with her butt. See that? Like, the computer is ready for me to throw stuff at her, because they're thinking, well, this is a Shoto against a grappler. But as you can see, she's got a lot of different distance gainers. She's got a lot of different moves that she can throw out to try and like position herself in a way that avoids the Hadouken, but also gives her the opportunity to do damage whilst gaining distance. Like the foot slide. Which, to be honest, I don't think the foot slide avoids Hadoukens. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that doesn't avoid Hadoukens. I'm genuinely thinking about that now. To be fair, I've read like 0 patch notes since the update, so there could be moves that have like completely changed in drastic ways that I don't know about, but we're going to pretend that that's not the case. So, oh damn, that's cool. I missed Rose. She was a character that should have always been in the game. Let's see, like now we're getting into stage 12, we're going to start seeing some like weird shit. Because the funny thing about medium is medium difficulty like, wants to show you moves but doesn't particularly choose the best times to do them. So it's kind of funny. See, when you actually start playing the game, medium gets a little bit too easy. You pull off like a couple combos in the crowd and it's like game over. What else can I say about Ryu as a character? Because beyond, when you branch out from normal inputs, normal specials, and you start getting into V trigger, and you start getting into engages and stuff, and oh shit, I haven't even done like a V shit. Let's get one of those going. I want him to. Auros seems very interesting. Oh wow, that's been drastically improved since I last played. Uppercut. See, now my problem was I stood up and went for one of these. He went for that. See, now I've put in a little bit more spice. The game's like, oh, we're playing for real now. What can I say is like super important? I'm obviously just doing this to keep myself in the game so I can continue talking about it. What's of utmost importance? Oh look, it's a rear mirror match. Turtling's really bad. Like, unless you're a character that can come out of down blocks, like, here we go. Yeah. Nice. See, there you go. So I went for a jump in. The opponent went straight for the default crouching fierce over. Crouching fierce uppercut. A crouching fierce uppercut is a really good way to solve that. And there's the projectile health I was talking about. He threw a normal one, I threw an EX, it goes through. I wanted to try and get a V-shift off, but unfortunately, it's not really my fault. I was hoping to chip it. Oh. I was hoping the chip would be on them. Yeah. Jump-ins for people that have slow reactions, like if you're playing someone that's, I don't know, bronze, like me. if you're playing someone that's bronze, and they're definitely new, like low in league points, they're not going to be able to react. Then jump-ins are a pretty good way to start up combos. But it's not something you can rely on, so let's see what happens. See, The computer was like, oh, you're gonna jump? There's a punch, there's a yoga fire. Look, I'll do it again. Let's see if we can get him to do more. Cool. Okay, well, unfortunately, maybe those first two were just the computer guessing. Cool. No. It's reacting a little bit slow. Okay, there we go. There's the overhead reaction. We're hoping for it. No? Not in the mood? There we go. Okay. You do it enough times, eventually the computer will wake up and do the right thing. There you go. Cancelled out the tattoo with a medium kick. Now in this situation, we're just going to hope for the best when it comes to these types of things. Because if you're ever pressured a little bit too much as a Shoto, you can always fall back on running away and casting a bunch of tokens. Just to give you like a second of reprieve, really, more than anything. Not as something that's like a viable tactic, not something that you should always do, but some characters have fireballs and some characters don't, and that is the meta. That's like part of the game. It's important to know what you're dealing with. If you're playing against fucking Nikali, who is a distance gainer, like he likes to move around, he does his stomps, he does his little like hand claw thing, but he doesn't have any projectiles, he just ends up back in the situation where you're like throwing these fireballs, and the computer's just kind of completely forgotten everything you learned from all the previous moves. And then he's like, I'm gonna walk at you, I'm gonna do a little jump. Like, it's not a solid way to win the game, but it's a way to keep the opponent off you. It's not as precise as zoning, or it's really just like basic people way. But in that situation, I can wait for him to move, miss. There you go, look, he's coming in, he jumps. What's he gonna do? What's he gonna do? Like, what is he gonna do? He's gonna backdash, get hit by the fireball, because unless they are standing and blocking, they're gonna get hit by the fireball. So if they're backdashing, forward dashing, jumping, walking, or doing a move, the fireball's gonna hit them. That's 5 avenues of guaranteeing you're gonna get hit with that fireball. Now that doesn't mean go online as a Shoto and throw a million fireballs. It's a terrible way to play the game. But see, look. Meanwhile, Gar wants to move in. Gar wants to do like, he wants to do this. I can't remember what the overhead kick is called, but Gar's not going to fuck around basically. See, like, he can wait, but whilst waiting, he can get ready to throw his own solid booms. Why the opponents aren't throwing any projectiles, I don't know. Maybe mediums got easier or something. I doubt it. But Gar, are you there? Are you with us? Okay. I'm getting kind of like that. We're on stage 17. I'm expecting to do a little bit more now. But in reality, what I've done is cover the kind of stuff that you want to do. If you're picking a character, you're fresh out, so you didn't know the absolute basics, like the differences in light, medium, and hard attacks, the differences in, you know, a crouching fist to do an uppercut or a crouching roundhouse to do a sweep. Let's take sweeps for example, right? Let's see what happens, right? See, you could sweep all fucking day if you wanted to. Because if the person's not going to jump it, there's nothing they can do. Now it doesn't, again, this doesn't mean try and do that online, it won't work out. The person will either off the ground move you and show you, use like Ukazeme, or they'll, I don't know, they can even probably, maybe in certain cases, raw grab from stand up and still get it. Alex is a mobile grappler. I mean, Jesus, look at that move. They're just trying to... Like, roundhouses work better than you think. They also give you a lot of stun meter. But again, I think medium might actually be a little too simple for me to demonstrate the intricacies of the basics of fighting. Oops. Again, oops. There we go. Right, so you got light, medium, hard, input moves, complex inputs, grabs, V-trigger, Colin's giant forehead. I don't know. I think I'm running out of steam for the basics. I might have covered just about everything. Oh, look at that. Bunch of whiffs. Nice little chain of whiffs there. Shouldn't have done that. So yeah, that was a good example of crouching medium into EX Hado, EX Tatsu. Yeah, why didn't I finish? Maybe not. Okay, so she's gonna come in again. Because I know that I can EX Hadoken or I can EX Tatsu off of a crouching medium kick, I can use that move to confirm that hit before I do it. If I throw out that medium crouching medium kick and it doesn't connect, I'm not close enough, so it's not going to connect. But if it does connect, then I'm able to know that the following move is going to connect. See, both of them don't connect. Try that until like I was going to try and do a collarbone breaker, but I guess not. I was hoping she was standing so that would connect. There you go. She walked into the move. I forgot that's like Menat's whole bag. Move the ball and bring it back. So in a situation like this where you've got the life lead, you can just use stuff like pokes to keep distance away from your opponent, and also make sure that should you have to pull something off and they're within your range, then you're going to be able to do that and you're going to pull it off every time. Well, not every time, obviously. Combo. So a shining example is like a target combo for Ryu is obviously that jumping heavy into crouching medium kick into I think it's like light punch, medium punch Shoryuken or something like that. But let's say you've worked combo. was something that people were pissing off. And I'm like horrendously out of practice. I haven't played this game in I wouldn't say half a year. It's been a few months. So I don't know any of the new patch notes. Kage, okay, Evil Ryu. See? Cancelled a tattoo by Shoryukening through it. A really good move to do if you're looking for it. Now that is a really common chain start hit confirm. Light punch, medium kick is a way that you're like, okay, I'm doing damage and gaining distance. Because light kicks are good pokes for certain characters, like I think Cammy's got a really good one. Saw it was coming. And well, like I said, you don't want to rely solely on heavy moves. You don't want to just use heavy punch and heavy kick because you think it's going to do more damage, right? But you can't just rely on jab and light kick. Like you can't rely on just light moves, but light moves have their place in the nexus, in the matter of all moves, all chaining and all combos. Your light moves are really going to make a difference, because if you're just fucking doing this, oh hey, if I'm just like this, mashing light, unfortunately it was connecting a lot, but you can see how short that distance is. And if I what I'm doing is like going, okay, alright, they're that far away, okay, yeah. But I'm not like doing a lot to her, am I? Like, but the moment you start bringing out like a medium and you're going to get into something, medium kick into a heavy tattoo, or you're going to use it to like chain into one of these other attacks, say for instance that one, whatever the hell that one was called, it's going to make a difference because you're managing to judge distance, you're managing to poke your opponent, which is, you know, kind of like the origins of footsies. Like the poking and the distance judging and stuff is where the whole mind game comes into. If that person's constantly really annoying, you're not going to want to walk up with them. You're going to want to walk directly into this person's hit range and just poking yourself. I think that will do for like absolute beginners. Like, we've gone through quite. We've gone through light, medium, and hards. We've gone through input moves. We've gone through counters, flips, grabs, overheads, jump-ins, aerial counters, grabs. What else is there? I think that really is all the basics. Oh, cool. Really? It's just, you like sit down. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much everything. Like the rock, paper, scissors analogy. So grabbing throws and punching grabs. Or hitting grab. Distance, pressure, block chains turning into grabs, like a way of judging something. If I'm here, I know that I can't pull up a kick. I can't get anything off there. And Hadouken has I could probably show it. Nah. It wouldn't connect, we can at least do it. Interesting. I was trying to like judge post hit EX Shoryu to show. Also, this shows that you can play toss and really make it through. Yeah, it's over an hour at this point. Yeah, no, I don't want this to be too long-winded. Yeah. Try those things out in survival. Try those things out in arcade. Training, sure. After you've been through trials and tried out different trials. The main thing is distance is kind of your battlefield. When to move in, when to do like aerial stuff. See, I fluffed up my aerial. And then she waited for me. That's it. So it's just pokes, distance judging. He's constantly moving. Poke range I have. I can hit confirm off this. I can hit confirm off that. You want to keep all of these things in mind constantly when you're playing. Because if you don't, the other person will be, and they're going to wipe the floor with you. And also watch out for mind games. A lot of times I'll go online and I'll fight a bunch of really good fights against people who like use all the moves, do like different stuff, and then I'll fight a guy like this. I'll fight a guy that just jumps, and he just jumps a few times, and he sweeps, and he jumps and sweeps. It's like, I'm not going to get like, you'd be surprised how many people there are that just do this. Standpoint, like you're going to be coming at this person thinking, oh, this guy's so sick, this guy knows like all the different moves and he labs like 3 hours a day, he's so sick, and then that guy will genuinely like walk up raw grab you, or will triple neutral jump and then sweep on you, and you're going to be sitting there thinking, I didn't see that coming, because because the beauty of a game like Street Fighter is there are people that will do that. There are people that will just do this, walk up raw grab you, like will try to do it. Now, fortunately Urian's not letting me. But the same way that I can just jump and sweep like that, you will find people online that will do that. Maybe I should take Urian seriously because it's the end of the whole situation. Oh, I like... See, you have to get to round 30 in medium for the game to actually get interesting. Wake Up Shoryu's are integral to playing at Shoto. Oh, I like how Urian's playing. Really? Oh, dude, what? He can fucking charge his... Okay, right. I clearly need to go through the patch notes and find out what to do. So, yeah. I'm trying to think of an example. See, like, that was a Urian that was backdashing a fair amount and was trying to do projectiles. But my whole point was that you can come up on people that will raw grab you at every opportunity they can. They'll raw grab you when you're about to get up. They'll raw grab you at the end of a blockchain. They'll raw grab you, like, just for the fucking sake of it. Or you'll find people that just, their answer to everything is sweep. You get up, they sweep you. You like whiff a combo, they've already got a sweep ready because their character has like a wide sweep range. These things are kind of like the nuance of Street Fighter. When you're beginning to fight people online, there are going to be other people just like you that haven't put a lot of time into the game, and they've found that doing this one thing works. If that's like throwing a shitload of Hadokens, that's like, I don't know, like constantly using the crush counter move. A lot of characters have good crush counter moves, which basically like spin the opponent out, puts them on the ground. So you need to take all of the basics, you know, the input moves, the specials, EX in your specials, and you know, eventually critical arts. And you need to get comfortable with those. That is probably the best advice that I can give. Whatever character you've come across that you want to play, You need to get comfortable with that character. If you can't rely on yourself to pull out whatever move it is that you want to pull off, like in the moment, then you're constantly going to be seeing yourself getting beaten by the same types of players just because they're more prepared to pull off a move when they need it, or they're able to put you in a situation through like corner pressure, zoning, or whatever. They're going to put you in a situation where you can't do that thing. Like if you can't Shoryuken from right to left, you can only do it when you're on the left side of the screen. If someone manages to read that off you, like they manage to realize that you can't pull off moves as well on the opposite side of the screen, be prepared for that person to throw you onto that side of the screen so you can't get back across, like you can't comfortably rely on yourself to do those moves. So yeah, I would say for very, very beginner, new players, you're fresh to the game, you've only got a few hours in, definitely figure out who it is you want to play, learn their moveset, and get really comfortable with it. Because this isn't like Tekken or other games where like characters have 110 moves or whatever. This is Street Fighter. Like even the character with the most moves probably only has like 30 or 50 at best. That's like, if we're talking about, I can't remember his name, but the guy that could swap styles. Anyway, you get where I'm coming from. Find your Ryu. Ryu isn't even the character I like playing, but find a character where you go, I like these options, or I like how this character plays. I'm comfortable with it. For some people that might be charge move characters. Maybe we'll talk about that like next time or something. We'll talk about charge moves or grapplers or something. I'll figure out what's next. For anyone that watches this, if you got this far, thank you. I appreciate it. I don't really spend enough time doing YouTube as I should. I was streaming a little while back, then I got COVID. I've been working a lot after having COVID, so been a little bit too busy to come on here. But I was thinking that it's about time I started doing some kind of tutorial stuff for Street Fighter, because I've taught a lot of people how to play Street Fighter, and I'm not particularly great, but I'm not absolute trash. I'm just like kinda trash. So yeah, thanks for watching. Much love, safe and peace, and I guess see you next Tuesday.